Welcome to the Lab to Cart podcast, where we explore the intersection of AI and the future of shopping. Our goal is to educate and inspire listeners about the potential of AI in the e-commerce, retail, and D2C sectors. I'm your host, Jimmy Slagle, and let's not wait and get into the podcast. What is going on, Zach? Thank you so much for being on the show. If you wouldn't mind, just give everyone here a quick introduction of who you are.
Yeah, Zach Rego. I'm SVP of Revenue at Triple Whale. We are an analytics and attribution platform for D2C brands, helping over 6,000 brands on Shopify better understand their increasingly complex customer journeys.
Yeah, I love it. Triple Whale is awesome. I've heard a lot of great things about it. And with that, it's exciting. Obviously, you guys are getting more into the AI world. And so I'm curious where it stands today, which it's July 27th. Do you think that AI for e-commerce is underrated or overrated?
I think it's depends where you're looking. If you're on Twitter, it's overrated. If you're looking at the tools, I think there are a lot of opportunities to leverage it in a very low cost way for brands. There's some really cool things you can do, but the tools today, right? They're coming out every single day. There's a new email writer for salespeople. There's a new email writer for D2C brands. They're all relatively the same, using the same back-end technology. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of position in a very specific way to help D2C brands who are typically cash strapped, and their biggest costs are marketing, inventory, and then it turns into people or agencies. So anything that you can do to do more with less is a huge win for D2C brands, but finding the right tool is going to be challenging.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're seeing a lot of GPD wrappers at the moment, which definitely has its place. But the key is just going to be what is going to be that next breakthrough, like a ChatGPT for e-commerce. So talking a little more about Triple Whale, where do you guys kind of see the future of e-commerce and AI moving? It's cool that you guys have been able to raise a significant amount of money, and I'm sure a lot of that is predicated on the fact that you guys see a future of AI. And so, without giving away too many secrets, how is Triple Whale viewing the future of AI within e-commerce?
Yeah, fortunately, our co-founder, but our CEO, who's kind of the product mind, he, in our original pitch deck, had like an AI assistant as a part of the pitch, and that was not part of the platform when I joined, a year and almost a half ago now. Was not on the roadmap quite yet. I think it was in his brain, which was where the roadmap lived at that time as well. And it's starting to come to fruition with kind of a natural language querying chatbot that's in our app right now, which allows marketers to access data that historically they would need to have a data engineer and a data warehouse and have someone organize it, and then a front-end tool like a Tableau to visualize it using SQL and all these other things that I have no idea how you would go and execute on, and most marketers don't. And now you can just spend a little bit of time in Triple Whale asking, Willie, the chatbot, a few questions and create the charts and graphs you need, and then set those to be recurring, which is really trying to, again, like the whole thesis is like, how can we make data accessible for these brands that are generating meaningful revenue? We've got brands doing up to $250, $300 million a year in revenue, but the teams are still quite small. They're running lean and mean. And that's the kind of ultimate vision of bringing AI into our platform, is to really make that data accessible.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. So going back to almost the very elementary side of AI, do you think that there are current applications that exist that are some of your favorite examples of being able to use AI? Is it strictly ChatGPT, which is just being able to generate marketing copy and other forms of copy, or have you started to play around with any visual, like whether it be product images or ad creatives that people can use? So kind of walk me through some of your favorite current tools that exist, or just areas where you're getting excited from maybe demos you've seen.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited about a lot of, and you'll think I'm saying this because I'm talking to you, but I'm most excited about a lot of the creative stuff that you can do. Midjourney will be interesting when it kind of gets out there and their APIs released, but being able to quickly iterate on ad creative without, again, like just like you had to wait for the data engineer to do something, without having to wait for someone to edit an image, remove a background, things that are pretty basic and I think we take for granted now, but being able to change the background, being able to see that a model on the beach performs better than, a model at a pool, or testing those things. Like those are just going to accelerate success for brands very fast. And we actually built some generative AI stuff into our app, and it's still there. It's a very difficult to maintain, and the tech just wasn't quite where we needed it to be. But it's definitely a place that we want to bring AI into that, because to me it's one of the more fun parts of being a marketer. It's not writing ad copy or creating audiences, like doing the stuff that you're like off the wall idea for an ad and you throw it out there and it works and you're like, oh, let's iterate on that, and being able to just do that at a high velocity will be massive for brands. The other thing that I've spent a lot of time doing is I have it code tools for myself. A couple examples, like I made a commission calculator to build commission structures for my sales team. Super simple. I plug in, their OTE, what their base salary is going to be, how much I believe they need to pay back the company every year, and it spits out what their monthly target should be. It's an incredibly basic thing. I built it in Google Sheets, but I was like, hey, let me code this, put it in an embed on a website, and make a free tool. So there are a lot of cool things you can do with it. I'm non-technical. As far as my technical skills goes, is copying and pasting the code and putting it into an embed in an iframe. That's all I got. Control C, Control V. But if it can code everything for me, amazing. I can create more tools like that. And we're actually using that a lot in our marketing team for go-to-market.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I think that's something that I'm even seeing is more people are starting to be able to learn very elementary code because ChatGPT just tells you what it should look like.
Yeah.
So no, that's awesome. On that point, I think there are a lot of people that see AI and can view it as a threat to their jobs. And so within e-commerce, what advice would you give for people when it comes to AI and when it comes to this technology on how they can more so leverage it rather than be scared by it?
Yeah. I mean, I think we should be scared by it. Like, I mean, I want my kid to go and be a mechanic. Like, even if it's just an electric car mechanic, fine. Like, you know how to work on that stuff, because I don't. And I think that job will more than likely always exist. Maybe not. But listen, I think if you know how to use it to your advantage, and if you're, in my case, we work with a lot of marketers or founders. If you're a marketer or a founder, you're going to be just fine, because there's a lot of nuance to a lot of those jobs, and a lot of them are the creative skills that is really baked in human emotion and psychology, and less around spitting out the same text 150 different ways. And that's going to play out very fast. Like, there will be 10,000 blogs that are identical. There are 10,000 blogs that are identical right now on a subject on the internet. And the one person that wrote something that was interesting or thought-provoking because they put their fingers to a keyboard will win. And I don't think that's going to change. I don't think, copy will change. Even though ad testing will be faster and accelerated, I don't think that, I think the best ads will still be from the best marketers or the best brand, and brand will win out in a lot of those cases. So it's fun and exciting and potentially threatening to some jobs. If you're great at your job, you'll always have a job, I think. And that's just how the world works.
Yeah, I agree. And I was even listening to an interview yesterday with a Sequoia partner, and he was talking about how really where there's a wide spread of talent, whether that be accounting, whether that be legal, whether that be advertising, what ChatGPT is going to do is raise the floor to where everyone should be good. But the people that are great are always going to have a job, because in my mind, AI is never going to be able to do something that the best in their respective fields wouldn't be able to do themselves. And so, yeah, I think you're totally right on that front of as long as you're good at your job, you're always going to have a job, and you shouldn't be afraid of AI.
Yeah.
How do you stay up to date with all the things and advancements that are happening within AI? Are there any people on Twitter or just places, I guess, in general that you typically find these different tools or breakthroughs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few newsletters. I don't know them off the top of my head, but definitely a few newsletters. Definitely Twitter. There's a new thread every day of the top AI tools that have launched. Product Hunt. I've always been on Product Hunt, just looking at what's releasing, being built. I think that's just such a great marketplace, and the community is amazing there. Um, you can also find in the scrap heap on Tiny Acquisitions and Acquire.com all of these tools that have been built on top of as a front end for ChatGPT that do have a use case and probably just need a decent marketer to put them out there, and could turn into a 10, 20, $30 million or 30 $1,000 a month MRR side business. I don't know. It depends how hard it is to maintain. So I look at that stuff all the time. I'm certainly not keeping up with like the tech itself. How is Midjourney going to be built? My brain is filled with enough other things that are useless. I'm not going to be able to put that knowledge to use in any way. What I can put to use is, hey, here's a cool tool that I know I can go and deploy to make me look smarter. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I tell people too is what I say is I'm good at staying up to date with AI. I am by no means an AI expert
Right.
on the science behind it all. So yeah, that's definitely something that I recommend to people as well. So another question I have for you, and this is kind of dreaming big. This is purely from a marketing perspective, not a feasibility perspective. But if AI could solve a current problem that you see a lot of e-commerce brands facing, or just stuff that you're hearing from your customers, or maybe it's even internal at Triple Whale itself, what do you think that problem would be, and kind of describe what that tool could potentially look like?
Hmm. I think there's kind of a marriage of a few things. So right now, brands advertise on a lot of different channels, and a lot of the teams we speak with are relatively segmented. So there's an email and SMS person. There's a Facebook agency or manager. There's a Google Ads, Microsoft Ads manager. There are reviews coming in and how customers talk about us, and there's a lot of amazing content being created by a variety of people that does not always have perfect brand continuity, or messaging is working in some areas and not others. Customers are talking about us very differently than how we talk about ourselves. um, there's no shortage of content there, but there's no very easy way to harness all of that content and take it and find trends and understand what are our promoters saying and how are they talking about us. That's probably how we should talk about ourselves. So we actually did this exercise. We took all of our G2 crowd reviews, exported all of them, and uploaded them to ChatGPT and asked them to find all of the trends, positive reviews, and then we took all of our NPS surveys, detractors. What are the trends, right? And like, we're doing that manually, just exports and uploads, but to have a real-time activity feed, right, that's pumping in from these individual sources and then spitting out, hey, Zach, here's what your biggest fans are saying about you, and your headline on your ad says A, or the way you talk about this feature is B. No one talks about it like that, because when you release a feature, you're just, I don't know, you interview customers, but they're already like just jaded and having the conversation with you. You're getting a biased opinion. So we're doing a lot of that manually, and I'm sure someone out there is building a tool that will make that stuff just happen in real time. And D2C brands do that, right? Like Yotpo's got all the reviews coming in, and they've got SMS and email, and some of that works a little bit together. But if they're using Klaviyo for email and they're drafting, someone else is doing that, and so on and so forth, it's very disjointed.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. No, I agree. I think one thing that AI can do for a lot of these e-commerce marketers is just unify everything together and put everything in one spot where they can see that cohesive view. almost like triple whale, but then just expanding it out to all the other platforms and not necessarily have it be attribution, but just, hey, here's what people are talking about. So no, I think that is I think that's a really really powerful tool. Are you worried at all with any of the ethical implications of AI and how it will shape our future? And this doesn't necessarily have to revolve around just e-commerce, but is there any worry in your mind about where we're headed within AI?
I no. I mean, I think there are potential disastrous outcomes. I don't know. We've all watched movies about this kind of stuff playing out, and who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe that does play out. I'm like, I'm way more concerned about how much of my information I've given Apple. Like, Apple is a way bigger threat to all of us. Right now, they're all about privacy, but they're all about privacy for everyone else, all the other platforms. Let me help you hide your data from Google and Facebook. There's one person or one company that's got all the data. Like, how much oxygen is in my blood right now? Apple knows that. I didn't know that before I had an Apple Watch. My doctor didn't know that. Like, so those are way bigger, threats. And meanwhile, everything I own, from a tech perspective, and most of us own is Apple, and like I'm totally fine with it. So we got bigger things to worry about in the very short term. Now, is some of this stuff slightly scary? Of like, is it sentient and does it have feelings and it acts like it has feelings and a sense of humor? Like, yeah, that's a little bit bizarre. But like, Boston Robotics has been building robots forever, and knock on wood, we haven't quite felt the repercussions of that. It's mostly been benefits when you think about like some of the bomb sniffing stuff they've built and some of the other things. Like, those things are scary if you think about them going haywire, as is anything. So I think we got bigger threats than AI right now.
Yeah. And I think everyone is almost there's always a little more nothing ever is implemented to the mass population as soon as people just hear in the news. I'm sure Elon would have thought that we would have self-driving cars at this point, or probably be further than we are in the truly being autonomous driving world. And so I think everything takes longer for things to catch on, which is where I agree with you. I think there are bigger concerns out there than just AI for the time being. So, Zach, another question that I have for you is for anyone that's just kind of starting out in the e-commerce world and they're hearing all these things about AI, is there any advice that you would give to them on just how to go about this technology and just what you would say to someone to help point them in the right direction?
Um, Use it any opportunity you can get. I think it's just an interesting place, and I encourage everyone on my team to use it, from marketing to sales. Um, we have a free tool where you can create subject lines, SMS, all based on character limits, Instagram headlines, whatever it may be, on our website. That actually makes using ChatGPT for marketing purposes in the D2C world easier. So check that out. Totally free tool and just a fun thing to play with. Um, and then I would say, like, don't think about it as just a content creator. Like, I do think there are ways to make tools for yourself that you can go and use that make your day-to-day job easier. Um, and that's not just ChatGPT. Like, I've been playing with Bard a lot more and using it in Google Sheets. Like, I find myself in Excel a lot more than I would like. That's not what I thought. That's not what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a sports center anchor, and I'm sitting and looking at spreadsheets for 2 hours in the morning. It's whatever. Maybe I had to do that and look at stats if I made it on Sports Center. Sports Center's not even cool anymore. So, um, but I'm good enough at Excel to get to where I need to get to. But some of the AI advancements and just having ways to get things done in Google Sheets faster has been amazing. As a D2C or someone looking to get into D2C, I'd spend some time there, because unfortunately we all spend way too much time in spreadsheets.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that just data analysis side of AI is going to help so much. I mean, you're now going to be able to throw it, and you already can. I mean, OpenAI releases within ChatGPT is you can upload files and
Yeah.
ask it questions about all the data in there, which is amazing for people that do have to spend time looking at those spreadsheets.
Yeah.
So last question, before we wrap it up, what are the areas where you think humans still have the advantage over AI when it comes to e-commerce and probably in particular more on the marketing front?
I think psychology is key. Like people buy in a lot of cases based off of emotion, and as long as AI does not figure out that, we'll be in good shape. So I think I would be studying up a lot on um, how people buy, why they buy, what makes them motivated to buy, what's the psychology behind it, um, and that will always give you a distinct advantage. And if you get your prompts right, you get your tone questions right, tone prompts right, you can use AI to your advantage to accelerate and test and build off of that. Um, and I think the other piece, again, I go back to creative, but being able, being someone that is creative and thinking outside of the box will always win. And like I look at all of and think about from like a sales perspective, but if you look at like the SDR emails I get today, which I get hundreds of them between email and LinkedIn, they're almost all the exact same sequence written by who knows what bot. Um, and what's going to win is the one random funny out of the box thinker that does something outlandish. And I tell my team that all the time, like have fun with this because no one else is. Um, and I think that works in marketing. I think it works in sales. I think it works in anything where you're trying to invoke emotion. And if you're not, thinking outside the box or having fun with it, it's gonna look like it was done by a robot and probably be assumed that it was done by a robot, even if you typed it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, I think Liquid Death is a great brand example of that, where they are known to take the craziest ideas that most people would never do and turn it into a marketing campaign because it's so different that people are just not expecting it, and therefore it works better than kind of the cookie cutter
Yeah.
templated version of whatever ad campaign most large brands are running. And so, I mean, I'm sure there's probably going to be a new terminology within marketing that talks about that, and maybe one already exists today of where if you do something that's so contrarian to what is expected, it's actually going to outperform what you're supposed to do because it's just different.
Yeah.
And I think AI is really going to accelerate that. But anyway,
Yeah.
Zach, is there anything else that you wanna talk about or mention before we wrap this thing up?
No, I appreciate having me. I think, like I said, I would encourage anyone to, jump in and use the tools to your advantage today. And then there are more great tools coming that are going to accelerate, hopefully, all of our jobs and make our lives easier. And that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Zach, always appreciate your time and thank you for just everything that you've done for us so far and really appreciate you being on the show and I hope we can chat soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. See ya.